here is my workspace. Or I guess here's my workspace with no work being done on it currently. It's very clean at the moment. Normally, it's very cluttered. I work in a very small workspace. I mean, you're looking at it, and oftentimes I have to transfer things on and off of the desk. Like when I'm done working on it, I have to bring everything that I took off of it earlier and put it back on just so I could sleep in my bed. So as you can see, I've got not much out here at the moment, but this is where I keep my hot wire cutter. It's always here. Normally it's turned this way when I'm cutting it. I turn it that way to give myself, you know, another 6 inches of space. This space over here is a catch-all for mostly junk and cutoffs and just weird pieces. And it's kind of a wasted space. So my goal is to be able to take some of my paints and things that are normally stored in these drawers and bring them onto the table here. Things I use all the time, like super glue, a lot of, like, you know, my Mod Podge mix, black paints, my washes over there can go with it too. A lot of stuff. So yeah, that's today's goal, and I'm gonna make it out of black foam core. So the first thing I did was I used just regular white foam core to build a template. And the drawers I just built around fitting a maximum amount of these craft paints in, and that's how I got my size. It's worth noting that I will not be giving any measurements or dimensions for this because it's going to vary for everybody. It's going to depend on what you're putting in the drawers and what kind of space you're working with on top of your desk. So I just went through and made sure that all the things that I wanted to put in would fit in a single size drawer so I could make my project as easy as possible. I could have made a bunch of different size drawers, but I didn't want to. I then busted out the black foam core with black paper and black foam. It's a bit nicer, a bit more rigid. It's the same foam core that I used for my mag board. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. Seriously, it makes such a huge difference with your encounter terrain made from XPS foam. But I got this cut, and it's worth noting that having a very sharp blade is really helpful in cutting this kind of foam core. I mean, obviously it's helpful in cutting anything, but this foam core, I felt like it was very crucial. So using that white foam core template, I took out all the measurements from it and started cutting several drawers, and I made 4 total here. Quick tip: when your blade is dull and you want to break a piece off, I have to use some pliers, and then I ram it into a piece of XPS foam for safe disposal. Razor blades are a mean thing, and you don't want to hurt yourself or anyone else. So I then got the sides, and this is again another one of those things that's going to be a personal preference on how tall you want it. I could have gone even taller, but I didn't want to be taller than my miniature paints, the Vallejo paint set that I have, because I didn't want them to be hard to retrieve. Once I got all my pieces cut, I started to assemble them with just hot glue. And when hot gluing these on, I made sure I had a nice right angle nearby to make sure that they would stay vertical, because these had to go inside a cabinet kind of structure. So I made sure that they are all nice and square as possible. They're not going to be perfect, which is fine because it's not, you know, precision work. Well, it kind of is, but it's not as precise as, say, making something out of wood using a table saw and jigs and all kinds of stuff. So this is actually just something that us crafters really do. We see something that we need and we're just like, you know what? I can make that, and I can make it very simply with very few materials. So that's what I did here, and yeah, just got all of these drawers assembled. I then measured the width of the drawers with a divider in between them so I could know how big to make the base, the sides, and the back side of the cabinet that they would slide into. It's worth noting here that you always want to measure twice and cut once. I always forget this, and inevitably I will always make the wrong cut at least once during a project. And yeah, anyway, I made actually more than once in this particular project, but I measured the height of my tallest items so I could determine how tall the side pieces needed to be, with a little bit of space to kind of reach my hand in there and grab them if I didn't want to pull the drawer out. You could build it to the exact height of your tallest item and just pull the drawer out each time that you want to grab that item. I opted not to do this because, for one, there may be items in the future that I want to put in there that might be a little bit taller even. But after I got those all kind of figured out, all the side pieces, the back and the center piece, I just started gluing them on, and I actually used the drawer filled with the paints as a kind of guide to put it in the right place. One thing that you'll definitely want to remember is when you do eventually start to put in that middle piece, you'll want to make sure that you allow the thickness of the back piece to go on depending on how you put it in. I built everything on top of the bottom piece, so this center piece I actually had to make a little bit skinnier than the side pieces to allow for the back piece to sit on top of the bottom piece. You can see it better here that that middle piece doesn't quite reach the edge of the bottom piece, and again, that's just so the back piece can actually just fit in there flush with both side pieces and the bottom, like so. And then in order to make sure that these had a really good connection, I went through all the corners and put a bead of hot glue just to kind of secure them more firmly, and things started to work out real nice. So after I got these kind of done, I just glued on the top cap, and that was as simple as just doing some hot glue and pressing it on top. And really that's all there is to it. That really kind of completes the set of 2 drawers, and I opted to make these drawers separately, so I made a second set afterwards to stack on top of each other. All right, it's all set up. I had to move my light here over just a tad, and this kind of fits in there nicely, and now I can slide the prox on all the way back here when I'm not using it, and it's opened up all this space over here and even more space here. And the great thing is that each one of these can pull out individually. Especially this one's really important to me to be able to pull out because it's got all of my mini paints in it that I use, and I like to have those all out at once. The other great thing about it is if I ever want to kind of like change the way this is set up, I could pull this whole piece over, set it over down over here if I want. And then I made a kind of a top shelf for all my tall items here as well. But yeah, I'm very pleased with it. Definitely feels like I'm utilizing my space better. It's kind of tricky working with a small space. This desk is my entire workspace, so constantly having to move things back and forth on and off of it from my drawers or from on top of my bed behind me is just a pain. Someday hopefully I'll have a much larger working space, and maybe I'll even build some more of these for right here. I don't know yet, but for now it's freed up more than half of a drawer for me to put some other items in, or just be able to be more organized at least, because currently one drawer is just kind of a mess. But yeah, got some more things I'm planning on doing to organize my work area. Hopefully get another flat horizontal surface in here. Those things are a premium in the crafting hobby, so hopefully I can get another one of those, but I've got a TV to mount to the wall first before I do that, and that's going to cost some money. So anyway, I hope this video was pretty helpful for you, and hopefully you can do something as well. It's really simple, it's cheap, it's just hot glue and a knife and a straight edge and foam core, so worked great.